Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, we're talking curses. I don't mean the words, although there's a heck of a lot of curse words in this episode. I think I'd had maybe too many caffeines. Curses, days out, podcasts, which seems strange on a podcast, generational stuff, and a little bit of diet-related things. TV, movies, computer games, it's all here. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Obviously, the one that we like, the bestest, the mostest, the tip-top. Share the podcast around. That's the one we like because it's the best. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, The Darkest Timeline. Hello. How you doing? I decided to go with the old sneak attack approach and try and get started early. And by early, I mean it's 9:05, which, as we know, is early. It's a whole thing. I wouldn't worry about it. How you doing? You well? You having a good week? You having a good day? Good life? I think by now we all know the rules. If you are having not the best of times, drop me a line. Say hi. And I'll say hi back. And then we can talk. I've put my phone on charge. That's sweet irony. It is not charging. It is now. Not necessarily what you might think to get battery power. It's kind of a delay tactic because I know tucked away in there is a notes page that's got some crazy number of notes on. Side note, while I remember, fuck notes. Recently found a section in my notes section where all of my notes, all 359 of them, are apparently backing themselves up to iCloud. I didn't authorize this. I don't want this. I want nothing to do with iCloud. It's absolutely not a thing for me. So I turned it off. Recent phone update apparently decided that me turning it off wasn't okay, so I turned it back on. So I'm like, no, absolutely not. We're not doing this. So I turned it off and it said, oh, okay. How about you lose all your notes then? So 359 notes, mostly podcast related and other things, gone. It's okay though, because I could get them back by, that's right, turning it back on. Not that any company would ever hold you or your data hostage. Absolutely not. Right, here we go. It's a monster. This goes back to what will be like last Tuesday. Now, in my world, my current world, last Tuesday is about 1 million years ago. And so much stuff has happened that this podcast reeks of a two-parter. Absolutely steams of a two-parter. Now, the thing there is that anytime I've ever looked at a podcast and gone, this has got two-part written all over it, it's done in like 30 minutes. And I'm like, well, guess not. And anytime I'm like, oh, I've only got 3 things to talk about, like an hour and a half later, I'm like, guess I could drag it out. Anyway, let's just get stuck in. No surprises. I'm going to start with a children-related story and go from there. I've written down that something's gone wrong with see, that's weird because no, stay on track, stay on target, stay on target. I've written down something's gone wrong with my children. Not all, because there's like a clear sort of split down the middle. Not that I treat them any differently. He lied. So some of my children have learned two things. One, 9 times out of 10, if they ask, I'll buy them something. And two, that I am a soft touch. Now, I'll caveat that by saying, not on everything. I imagine if you asked my children, they'd be like, oh, you were so mean. So, not on everything, but some things I'm a very soft touch. So, recently, my youngest daughter has taken on these two things and basically walks into any shop and says, can we get this? It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter where we are. It doesn't matter what we're doing. It literally, it could be the first thing she sees. It often is. So, hasn't even had the time to process it. So you're like, well, no, we don't need that. So she just abandons it and immediately goes to the next thing she sees. So to start with, I was a bit like, no, that's not how we do these things. And then she'll just sort of whittle me down, like, can we get this? No. 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 So, see, this is the thing, because it's weird, because this goes back to a couple of Wednesdays ago. So why would it be 2 weeks ago and I'd be talking about it now? No, I know why. Because we went into a shop on last Wednesday. That's why. So it's been an accumulative effect. So we went into a shop last Wednesday and she was like, can we get this? It's like, you don't even know what that is. It's like, tell me what it is. I don't know. Exactly. You don't even know. Went to a different part of the shop. Can we get this? No. What are you going to do with it? I'm going to play with it. I was like, you will play with that for an accumulative 6 minutes, the entire time you own it. Can we get this? I was like, that is a £20 water bottle. Well, I brought £30 with me, so I can just buy it myself and still have money left over. I was like, I am not going to authorise you to spend £20 on a water bottle. Now, here's the thing. I have a child that you basically have to hold at gunpoint to be able to buy them anything. It's literally like somebody in your family is going to be executed right now unless you get a cake. That is not even a joke. I have used that example in the last week. I have a child who is, let's say, easy to persuade when it comes to stuff. I have a child who is apparently just like some rabid Wolverine at this point in time, coming as far as shops are concerned. And then I have another child who is following suit with their older sibling. So there's this real sort of mixture of whatever. And I'm like, you don't get it. The dynamic should be, can we get this? Now, this should not be the first thing that happens when you walk through the door. Can we get this? Because I really want it and I really need it and I really like it. And then I'm supposed to say, well, no, I don't think so, because it's expensive and we don't need it. And, I think realistically, if you walked away from it right now, would you remember it tomorrow? And then they're supposed to say, oh, but I really want it, I really need it. I will give you £5. And then I'm supposed to say, yeah, but it's £15. I'm not paying the remaining £10 on this. Okay, well, I'll give you £5 and I'll wash the car. Well, it depends which car you're talking about, because one's a big car and that would be like a really big job, and you're not tall enough to get to the top of it, so I'm thinking you're going to do half a job here. This is not really coming out for me. I am still £10 out of pocket. So what I'm saying is there should be some sort of bartering system, and it should be something that as a child you really, 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 really want it. And as a parent, you're probably going to buy it, and then we enter into negotiations. And if I can negotiate you out of wanting it, then you didn't really want it, and we can walk away. And if you can negotiate me into buying it, then you must have really wanted it, and it's probably worth it. There we go. That's my take on going to the shops. Now, I will switch slightly on this one. Recently I had a situation where I keep trying to convince one of my children that they want something. I'm like, what about this? Are you getting this? Well, yeah, maybe, maybe. Like, well, are you or not? Because if you are, I need to order it. Well, yeah, That's been going on for weeks at this point. And I'm like, I don't think you really want it, but if we had it, it would be nice. I think that's the take. So you're not going to say to me, look, get it ordered and then we're done, aren't we? The same child has said to me 4 times in the last week, there's like these 2 plush toys from that K-pop thing. Those plush toys are really cool. I think we should get those plush toys because they were cool. 4 times, 4 different versions of that. And I'm like, well, you're lucky it's going to be your birthday at some point. So I'm like, right, I'll tell you what my issue is. I got stung on a box of cereal. We went into the shop because we were actually going there to look for something. And we got there and I was looking, and the whole time, one of my children, who shall remain nameless, was like, Dad, can we get this? Daddy, can we get this? Daddy, can we get this? I'm like, no. I was like, I'm not paying £4 for 4 buns. I'm not paying £3.29 for a massive box of cereal. I was like, look, I will buy you that cereal there because firstly, it's £2 for the box. Secondly, I think you will enjoy it a lot more than the other things you are selecting. Oh, I don't want that one. Well, then you don't need it, do you? Simple as that. Oh, can we get this? Oh, can we get a packet of Kit Kats? I was like, we've got Kit Kats at home. We don't need more Kit Kats. We've got Kit Kats at home. Yeah, but these are different Kit Kats. I tell you what, why don't you go home and eat the ones at home? Oh, I don't like those. Exactly. So it was one of those shopping trips. However, we purchased something. It was obviously super relevant because I can't even remember what it was. And we left. And then we went to another shop. Can we get some cereal from here? And I'm like, I've just spent 10 minutes telling you no, we can't get cereal because it was a massive box of cereal and it was £3.29 or £3.59 for a different one and all of this. Absolutely not. I was like, 2 things. One, that is a much smaller box of cereal than the one you were looking at in the other shop. And number 2, it doesn't have a price on it. And you know what they say about something that doesn't have a price on it. Please, can we get this? I wanted to get the other one in the other shop. So this went on for a few minutes. And for an easier life, I was like, fine. Whatever. Get the cereal. We go to the till. The guy beeps it. And he says, okay, that's £4.35, please. The next sound that was heard was the 2 bricks hitting the floor that had fallen out of my arse. Because I was like, you fucking what, mate? Pretty sure you need to be wearing a mask and a gun to say that, don't you? But you know the situation where you're like, I absolutely cannot say, whoa, that is way too fucking expensive. Let's put that one back, shall we? So I paid, walked out of the shop, and I was like, that cereal was £4.35. It is a third of the size of the box that was £3.29 in the other shop that I told you couldn't have. Hands up if you know what's coming. Yeah, you know exactly what's coming. You want to guess who doesn't like the cereal? So this was the point where I went, right, that is it. I am done. I am done. You have absolutely taken the piss here one too many times. So I'm done. So that was the end of that. I'm tapped out. And basically since then I've been like, I bought my middle daughter technically a CD. Let's just leave it that. I bought her the K-pop Demon Hunters soundtrack. The reason for that is because I'd ordered my other daughter a soundtrack from a film that she'd watched recently that hadn't turned up at that point in time. So, fair's fair. Simple as that. Simple. So, I'm going to go ahead and talk about a day in the life of being a man who has been cursed. I'm pretty sure I've been cursed by a witch. Either by as a baby or at another point in time. Maybe I wronged. You know, did you ever watch like Buffy or Angel, where like Angel had that curse put on him? I think it was a curse or a spell of some description where he was a vampire that had a soul. I don't really see much connection, but I do think I've been cursed. So I'm going to take you through a little day in the life of a man who's been cursed. We decided to have a day trip, and we were going to the beach. Woo! So all the plans were in place. We needed to leave nice and early, and we need to absolutely stack the car full of stuff. I wanted everything. Bucket, spade, towels, swimming costumes, change of clothes, dog water, dog treats, dog lead of 2 different types, dog towel, lunches, snacks, waters, so yeah, you know, like the big beach excursion. I wanted to leave nice and early to make it worthwhile. I wanted to take different shoe options. Like, the car was stacked. And bearing in mind, the moment you put the dog in, he's taken up all of the space where you would put all this stuff. So it's like a giant game of Tetris if a dog was a Tetris piece. In the car, and off we go. I'm going to say 5 minutes down the road, we hit traffic. Now then, this is one of those things that, because it wasn't traffic, even though I thought initially it was, and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, we are 5 minutes out from the house, and we've hit traffic. Are you fucking kidding me? Turned out, and if you want the rest of that story, it turned out it wasn't traffic, it was just lights were like a 2-way light system. So that's all it was. It was just a delay. However, both simultaneously at the same time, both me and Leanne said this phrase: "Is that smoke coming from our car bonnet?" Waited a moment and then went, "Yep, absolutely is." Fantastic. And I'm like, it's fine. We've been through this before. It's just something that happens. It's just something that needs to clear. It's okay. It's nothing to worry about, nothing to panic about. Leanne, being Leanne, was like, we need to pull over, we need to get off the road, we need to do blah, 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 all of this. As it was, we were near a particular establishment. I always have this thing, like, some businesses I have frequented for years and 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 years. And I have stopped going to because as certain businesses grow, they generally tend to forget the little people. So we were literally at this particular business that I used to go to a lot when I was younger, and through the years. And then I reached a point where I was like, do you know what? This place sucks. They took my favourite item off the menu. The service that you received went so far downhill, it was embarrassing, and it cost an absolute fortune to go. So we just stopped going. It was simple as that. There were a couple of other reasons why I didn't want to go, but short version, long, that was that. Leanne's like, look, it's there, just pull in. So the opportunity to pull in, I did. Pulled in, car off, checked in the engine bay and stuff, and was like, yeah, we've got smoke, but like I say, we've experienced this before. We know that it's just a thing. Leanne basically takes the stance of, we don't want to risk it. We don't want to be travelling any further. Ultimately, realistically, we need to know if we can get home. I'm like, yeah, I guess. If that's what you think. I was like, look, they've actually got a place here for dogs, which I didn't know. It's a new thing. Also, kids can get out and have a drink. We can try and make something of this and see how we get on. Right, okay, let's do that. So I was like, look, you take the kids, go and get a drink, whatever. Let them have a play in the park. I'll take the dog, run him ragged. And then hopefully he can come and sit with us. And that was that. She went off and did drinks. I ran up and down this thing with the dog, trying to race him and stuff, just trying to run him absolutely ragged so that he could have any hope of going and sitting and being even remotely civilized. I'm sure you can understand. I was absolutely a waste of time. So I go and find Leanne. I'd been into the shop previously, and I'd seen like a couple of bits and pieces. One of them was a dog section. So that they did dog frozen yogurt, dog truffles, dog biscuits, all this. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe I'll grab him something if he's good. Anyway, I go through. I'm like, okay, well, I'm sorry, the dog. He was being a loon. But eventually we reached a point where I was like, okay, he's kind of calm, but not. But he's doing his best. So, and I was like, Have you not ordered any drinks? She's like, yeah, I ordered drinks. I was like, oh. Recently? She was like, no, ages ago. I was like, yeah, that's why we stopped coming here. So, a little bit later, drinks come. And by a little bit, I mean a fair while later, and it wasn't exactly busy. Drinks turned up. I was like, cool. So we had a drink. I was like, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get the dog a treat. So I went and paid a fortune for a dog frozen yogurt. I was like, that's the perfect thing. Took it out for him. And he was like, oh, what's this? I was like, frozen yogurt. You love a dog ice cream. This is basically the same thing. So I opened it and I was like, it's like a friggin' hockey puck. It was like a stone. It was so solid. So I'm like, well, good luck with that, mate. You do your best. So he's licking. We're trying to assess what the best thing to do. Like, not just like there and then, but like for the rest of the day, for the rest of the week. We had to change all of our week plans because we couldn't rely on the car. All of that stuff. I'm like, great. So the dog's like, the frozen yogurt's too much effort. I can't do it. So I kept like giving it to him, and he was like, I mean, I guess fine. I mean, he's like, the fucking ice cream would have been gone by now. So there's a point where I'm like, I popped the bottom. It just popped out like a disc, and I was like, look, there you go. At least you can like chew on it or eat it or whatever. And he put it in his mouth and nom 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 nom, and it was gone. I would say, conservatively, 30 seconds later, it was like, hey, watch this. That's my breakfast. That's last night's tea. That is, I mean, not entirely sure what that is. And here's a little bit of something for good measure. And I was like, I guess frozen yogurt doesn't agree with the dog, because that's the biggest pile of vomit I think I might have ever seen. There was so much. Oh, there was so much. At this point, I just start laughing. I'm like, I mean, the fuck. I was having the single unluckiest week possible at that point in time. And then these things had happened on top, and I was like, fucking jeez, what the fuck, man? I was like, let's just get this situation cleaned up and get the fuck out of here, shall we? So that was that. By the next day, I'm like, I still don't feel like my look has improved, but me and my eldest were going to go and do some climbing first thing in the morning. So that's that. We get in the car, and I'm like, oh, we can't go that way because we've got to go a different way. So let's go this way, and we'll go a different way. Fucking roadworks, honestly. So we get in the car, we go like the opposite way to the direction we're going. And then we make a turn in, and we're driving through the village near where we live. And driving down this straight road, and I went, ooh, look, a squirrel. And the squirrel runs out in front of our car. Now, this is not an issue. The squirrel's 20 feet away. I saw it on the side of the road. I was like, oh, look, a squirrel. And it ran out in front of the car. No problem at all. What was a problem was there was a car coming the other way. And it wasn't 20 feet away, it was 2 feet away. So me and my daughter had the joy of watching a squirrel get hit by a car, run over, and I decided that it was a great idea to then look in the rearview mirror whilst I'm going, no, 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 to watch the aftermath of the squirrel getting run over and everything that came after that. And I was like, my fucking curse is so bad it's now affecting other people and creatures. And I was just like, as far as like, because I was saying to Leon, I was like, this is a curse. This is something that happens to me at various intervals in life, and I need to speak to somebody else and say to them, can you tell me the worst day you had of recent times where you were like, what the fuck is going on? And can we then compare whether it's even remotely close to the kind of days that I have on a regular basis? Regular basis. Like, regularly happen. Like, there was so many other things that happened on that day where I'm like, is this a fucking joke? Is Jeremy Beadle going to jump out and be like, got you? Fucking honestly. So, poor squirrel. I saw a squirrel yesterday and realised how traumatising that was. Because we had to change our plans, we were then desperately scrambling. We'd booked tickets to go to this super cool place, and it was 30-minute drive away. So we were like, well, that's not happening now. So we had to contact them, see if they could change the tickets. And like any place like this, they're like, you can absolutely change those tickets. No problem whatsoever. You just can't change it to any of the days you want to. Okay. So what then? We can give you a gift card. Cool. So then it's like, okay, well, there's nothing we can do about this. What can we do as an activity? So Leanne scrambles, doing the thing that she was doing, and she found that we could go to Piglet's. Now, I have never been to Piglet's. It's one of those places that I see the sign for it often. And I do mean often. However, I've never been, because the only thing I know about Piglet's is it's super expensive. Never been. Leanne's like, I found like a vouchery thing. She was like, we can go. It'll cost this much. We've lost that money and we need to do something. So let's just suck it up and go. And I was like, fine. Okay. And off we go to Piglet's. Now, Piglet's isn't that far away. It's on the same road as the golf place that I take the kids. So that was okay. We took 2 cars, just in case. And that was that. And off we went. And we got there and I was like, oh, okay. So it's very similar to the Maze. And it's got a lot of outdoorsy stuff. Weather was supposed to be a bit mixed for the day. There was a point where we'd been in a tent and we came out and it was raining. I'm guessing a hair in my drink. Whopper. And I did not get it out. Whopper. And I think I got it. So, bollocks thing. Piglet's. Off we go to Piglet's, and it's like, oh, let's go and do the maze, because they had a maze, so we did the maze. And we do brass rubbing, and I was saying to my daughters, I was like, have you ever done a rubbing? Then they were like saying what they knew about doing. I was like, yeah, but have you ever done like a brass rubbing? Like, no. I was like, this is what's wrong with your generation. You miss out on so many cool things. I was like, by the time I was your age, I'd have been to like 20 stately homes and done about 50 brass rubbings, and they're cool. So we went off and did all these rubbings, and I was like, I want to do one. And that was that. As with anything, it's like, right, let's get a coffee, let's suck it up and pay the price that the people want for the coffee. So let's go and do that. So I went and I was like, I'll have a couple of coffees, please. So I'm stood, and it was very much a pay for your whatever, and then go and stand over there and wait for your whatever. Okay, I'm on board with this, let's do it. So I'm stood, and like, there are people getting served. And I was like, why isn't anyone saying please and thank you? And a couple of people got served, and it was very much like, I want this. Oh, there you go. Like, thank you. So at one point I was just stood waiting, and I heard someone say, I've got these 2 bottles of drink, and I'll have 2 cups of tea. And I even nearly said it myself. I even nearly said, please. And so my parent brain nearly blurted out, please. Because I was like, how have you missed the please off the end of that sentence? Oh, that's weird. Now, as the interaction went, the person that was serving this person started what almost seemed like fishing for the pleases and thank yous. So they were like super helpful, they were really good, I thought they did really well, but this person was just, it was like a point of pride to not say please or thank you. And finally, at the end of this transaction, the person was like, there you go, and, I'll leave some room for some milk, and then the milk's over there, and blah, 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 blah. And like, they were just over the top helpful. And this person was like, all right, okay. thank you. And I was like, oh my God, it's an actual fucking hardship. The rest of the day, I was like, what is happening here? Like, did somebody decide that all of the rudest people in all of England should congregate in this one place? No pleases, no thank yous, no waiting in line, no. Oh, it's that person's turn on an activity. None of that. I have never been to a place and thought, what, we're just being rude? Who doesn't say please? Who doesn't say thank you? As a fully grown human adult who presumably is there with children, who doesn't say please and thank you? I watched a woman take their child from the back of a tent, this big tent where they were doing this dinosaur show, turned up late. The children were all sat on the floor and they were like 6 rows deep. This woman took her son down the outside, down the left-hand side, took her son all the way down, pushed through people, was like, oh, can I just get past and all this, all the way to the front, and then pushed her son out into the front row. Within 20 seconds of that, her son was up on the stage as part of the show. I'm like, I don't think that's how that works. You turn up late, you find the best seat you can and just enjoy the show. What gives you the right to do something like that? There was a point, I can't remember when it was, but there was a point where I turned to my daughter and I was like, if I die today, I want you to have written on my headstone, in quotations, what is wrong with people? Now, that is the polite version. I was like, because that is all I ever seem to say these days. What the fuck is wrong with people? It is beyond baffling to me. Speaking, and actually, not speaking now. You're not drawing me in. I'm not going to say it. It's something down here it's not funny. It's not funny. But, I had a little tiff with my daughter on one day last week. I didn't even think I was winding her up, but I guess it was. And in hindsight, I think she was miffed about a couple of other issues, a couple of other things that may or may not have been going on. And I'm like, oh, it's okay, you don't need to worry, you can do this, you can do that. She was trying to achieve something at climbing, and she just kept saying, she's like, I can't do it. And I was like, you can do it. You've done it. You've done all of the pieces individually. You just need to put it together. And if I said that, she'd be like, I can't do it. And I'm like, all right. And I was saying to Leanne, I was like, the amount of time that I've spent with my children over the last couple of weeks and stuff, and I've looked at my life and their life and my life with them, and you have that thing where you're like, what will my children say about me when whatever happens, or what will my children say about me when we're in family therapy, or what will my children think about me when this comes up, or all that sort of stuff. And I was saying to Leanne last night, I was like, I think realistically, my daughter, I'll leave it vague enough, I think she could be my best friend. Now, secret admission here, I actually think that Leanne is probably my best friend. But I can't tell her that, can I? You know, I'm a man. You don't own up to stuff like that as a man. So I threw her off the scent by saying, I think one of my daughters is like my best friend. I was like, and I don't know how much of a it's nice versus sad. I was like, I look at sort of like my quote unquote friend group and think, yeah, I don't spend time with anybody anywhere near as much as I spend time with like my children. And I don't do any of the fun things that I do with my children. And, you know, we watch movies, we play games, we go to the cinema, we go out, we go and do activities, we do activities together. And I was like, you know, I consider some of them have been here longer than others. I've got a deeper connect with some of them just through longevity. So I was like, I think it's okay to be like, yeah, you're like my best buddy. But we weren't best buddies on that day. And I was like, well, I guess we should probably get used to this one because, yeah, many, many, many more years of this to come, because when, you know, one starts, then the other one's going to start eventually, and then the other one's going to start eventually, and then the other one's going to start, and I'll be like, for fuck's sake, I'm going to deal with, like, I don't know, 15 years from now of just nonsense bad moods and, like, oh, you're so annoying. So, yeah, that was a nice glimpse of the future. Listen to a podcast. I don't, as a rule, advertise other podcasts. As a rule. Unless there's something specific that I'm going to reference. So there are two things I'm going to reference. I listened to a podcast the other day where two comedians managed to break down a certain aspect of life and society for nowadays. And I was like, how have these two comedians managed to land on the best description of... It was to do with like drinking and socializing. And I was like, you have absolutely nailed that. Congratulations, Mr. Comedian. You've done a fantastic job there. However, that wasn't the reason that I was bringing it up, because previously I have mentioned in the past how much I despise edited podcasts that are edited for language. Now, I feel there was a point in time where I was trying to sort of curb my language a lot more on the podcast, and then recently I've been more in the camp of we have an explicit rating, specifically for the fact that we can generally say pretty much whatever we want within reason. We have some golden rules of podcasting that were handed down to me from elsewhere, and I have generally tried to stick to them as best as possible. I have in the past edited podcasts. Somebody at one point in time had the title of the most edited person on the podcast, and that person was me. But I had some very close runners up. There are times I believe that certain things should be removed for everybody's benefit. However, if you are editing a podcast to take the F word out, or the C word out, or even some other words that aren't even swear words, something's gone drastically wrong, especially when your guest on your podcast is well known for using those words. Either don't have them on as a guest because you're like, it's going to be an absolute nightmare to edit this, or accept that maybe they're going to say a few naughty words and just move on with your life. Because honestly, a particular podcast that shall remain nameless has got really, really bad for editing words. And it just so happens that another related podcast seems to be following suit. And I'm like, if this is the way podcasts going, I'm out. Listening to them, I will still F and Jeff my way through this one, obviously. Recently realised a character trait which I can't fucking stand. I had an experience the other day where I was climbing. I was trying to achieve something that I've been trying to achieve for a little while, and I can't get it. And I'm just, you go, you try it, you don't achieve it, you get a little bit further sometimes, and sometimes you don't, and all of those sorts of things. And there was a lady who was trying a harder route that was in the exact same place. So I'd go up and try and come back. And then she'd go up and try hers and come back. And I'd go and try. And basically we were doing like some sort of relay. The lady in question I recognise as somebody who is sort of connected to some of the people from the group of people that I climb with, but I don't know her and I don't think I've ever spoken to her. So because we've got this sort of relay going, eventually she was like, "Oh, you're definitely gonna get that soon." And my fucked up brain went, somebody spoke to us. What do we do? And another part of my fucked up brain went, deploy countermeasures. Now then, in the hope of not coming across as a complete and utter fucking weirdo, and going, yeah. Because that to me is basically being a fucking weirdo. Like, if you can't hold a conversation with another human being, then what the fuck? My brain deploys countermeasures. And those countermeasures are to overcorrect. So I'm like, I should talk more than, yeah. And I should be like, yeah, I've been working out a little while, and I don't think I can get my foot round the way it's supposed to, because my body doesn't bend that way. So there's a part of me that's like, I don't think I'm going to get it, but then I keep trying it, and I'm like, maybe if I do this. But then anytime you do think that and you try it and it doesn't work, you're like, well, then that wasn't the answer, was it? That is where I should have left it. That was probably enough. That was probably enough of a conversation, because she started the conversation. She instigated the conversation. That was enough. It was probably more than enough. And that's what I said. And she went, yeah, I mean, sometimes you can find a different way. So a conversation has now begun. This is not a, yeah. My brain went, oh no, we need to talk more. I think it was around minute 12 of my life story that I realised, oh no, she has started the look of, fucking hell, I really wish I hadn't started this conversation with this fucking idiot. Jesus goddamn motherfucking Christ, why the fuck did I ever open my mouth? I'm never going to speak to another human being again. I need to get out of this conversation as soon as humanly possible. So, proceeded to do this. And this is my absolute favourite when this happens. My absolute favourite, where somebody will do this. Yeah. Anyway, I need to go and so I'm just gonna as they are slowly backing away, and then after the third, I'm just gonna they then turn and walk away at speed, and I go, another successful encounter with another human being, fantastic, crushed that one, and then go and hide in a corner. So. Yeah. I can safely say I'll never speak to that person again. Unfortunately, for both of us, That's not me saying I'll never see that person again. So, yay, uncomfortable situations to come. Woo. Somebody told me the other day something, and I went, that is absolute fucking bullshit. And then I found out it was absolutely true, and I went, you have got to be fucking kidding me. I was informed that the generation behind the current generation, so what is it? I am just Gen X. And then I think it was millennials. I don't know what's after a millennial. Because aren't they like 30-something at this point? What comes after a millennium? What is after millennials? Of course, it's Generation Z. Gen Z. Silly Billy. Gen Z. Anyone born between 1981 and 1996 is a millennial, and anyone born after that is Generation Z. Gen Z. Cool. Gen Z's kind of cool. It reminds me of World War Z. Z for zombie, and you could make a load of jokes about that. But now we have a new generation. Somebody told me what it was called, and I went, you are kidding me. And they were not. Because the generation after Generation Z, Gen Z, is Generation Alpha. And I said, talk about giving an entire generation of people a fucking complex, because Alpha's the absolute tip top of all food chains. Talk about a complex before you've even begun. Then I was informed, and this was the bit where I was like, dude. Because apparently the generation after that is Generation Beta. I was like, a beta bitch? You're going to be a generation of beta bitches? Because, fuck, bro. So yeah, Generation Alpha. That's inspired, that is. Something that I'm guessing people are going to be kind of glad that we haven't talked about recently, but unfortunately we're going to talk about now. I am fasting again. Yes, sirree, Bob. Your boy went off the rails. Intentionally, I will add. My body and my mind and everything else said, after the older two have been and gone, I'm going to do a week's fast. Long list of things, long list of reasons. One of them being is that I did my body fat percentage one day last week, and I'd lost an inch from round the waist. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. That's pretty sweet to lose an inch. And I hadn't checked for a while. I was like, bro, loving it. Put all of the information into the calculator, pressed the button, and it went, yep, you're exactly the same body fat percentage you were the last time you checked. I was like, I've lost a fucking inch. Apparently that means nothing. So I was like, okay, I've got this, and anybody that would like to have a conversation about body dysmorphia, feel free to hit me up. I've got this little podgy sack type situation right at the front, and I'd really like it gone because it's annoying me. And a few other things. Ain't going to be seeing no abs anytime soon if I keep just going up and down 4 pounds here and there, and hoping for the best that I'll have lost weight by a Monday. Couple of points. I went up into another stone yesterday. That was largely because I ate like a fucking savage. on Saturday and had full-blown protein pizza for tea and had pudding, like an actual human being pudding. So was like, this is going to be interesting for the morning. And interesting for the morning was, holy shit, I have gone into a different stone. Now, just to give you an idea, for me to get just to where I needed to be the same weight as the Monday before, this morning I would have had to have lost 8 pounds between yesterday and today fasting. Anybody surprised that I didn't? Are you more surprised that I lost 6 in a day? Because I was like, fuck, I didn't reach my goal. Did lose 6 pounds in a day though, so swings and roundabouts. Fingers crossed for the morning, because I'm hoping that those extra couple of pounds will be gone by the morning. This is very much into exploratory. That sounds right. Exploratory. Yeah, exploratory territory, because it's not super high on the list of things I want to do. I need to get some results out of this, because if I don't, then I'm bailing. I have noticed how quick my mind, body, etc. has adjusted to my current, basically like you could say maintenance, but it was real sloppy, real dirty maintenance, and ultimately I was cheating. I was using 2 fasting days a week to just keep in the realm of the right weight. I've got a long list. I went through it with Leanne this evening. She glazed over about 30 seconds in, and I think I was talking for about 10 minutes. So I've got a long list of caveats for this. I'm in a different place. Sugar-wise, I don't have anywhere near the amount of sugar going into my system now as I did in any previous fast. So that is potentially going to affect things. I think it's going to make it a lot harder. So I've had to adjust a couple of things there. I'm also trying to minimize the muscle loss and try and keep the muscle as close to the same as possible. Obviously, I appreciate that isn't possible, but we will endeavour. If I reach, I've set the goal of Wednesday. If I reach Wednesday and the body's like, nah, mate, you're not having any weight loss, then I will have to just change and basically bail. So I need to see weight loss. I am aiming for as close as I can get to a stone. So, yeah, feel free to go absolutely mental about that if you want. I understand it's not everybody's cup of tea. So, I understand, like I say, that it might not be for everyone, but I'll update next week and you can see what progress I achieved if you want. So, let's talk some entertainment stuff. Couple of few bits and pieces. I've watched 2 episodes of Series 4 of The Bear. Episode 7 was over an hour long. Didn't know that before putting it on, and fuck, bro, it was long. Also, not gonna lie, felt like a filler. So the fact that it was long and was like a filler episode was like, what are we doing here? We got through it and then made sure to check the length of all the other episodes, which are all in like sort of the half-hour range. So we watched another episode. We watched episode 8, which mixed in a lot of ways, in the sense that I don't know what the end goal is. Like, I've predicted the end of this series, but 2 or 3 things have already kind of gone the other way, so I'm a bit like, I have no idea where we're going right now. Like, there was a point where I was like, oh, I wonder what she knows about this. And then I was like, probably nothing. It's probably leading you down a certain way, but it's probably going to be nothing's going to come of it. I think we've got 2 episodes left, so I'm a bit like, we'll get there. A couple of movies. One's an old film, but there's a reason it's there, and the other is a new one. I took the children to see Bad Guys 2 when we didn't go to the beach. Whole thing, had to change plans, blah, 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 blah. So, we went to see Bad Guys 2. Now then, I'm a big fan of the first one. I really like it. We have seen it in our house many times. My middle daughter had watched it last Saturday while I was working out, and I was like, "It's just a great film." We were all excited for the second one, and off we went to the cinema. A few things to go through. Firstly, there is a point in the film where they reintroduce the bad guy from the first one. Irony, with it being called Bad Guys. They reintroduced the bad guy from the first one, at which point he reveals that they reveal he's been in prison all this time, and the first thing you see in his cell is dumbbells. And I went, this is going to be good. So they did like a Hannibal Lecter kind of thing, which was funny from an adult perspective. But when they revealed him, he was absolutely massive. He was just jacked. So it was like flexing and stuff. Oh, this is absolutely swole. At which point, the character who's talking to me was like, oh, you've bettered yourself while you've been in prison. And he was like, well, it's arm day, so I'm looking particularly swole today. And I knew what was going on 4 seats down from me. And I was like, I don't even need to look. But I'm going to anyway. So I slowly turned my head to look down. And my eldest was staring at me. And when I turned to look at her, she looked at me, I looked at her, and we both absolutely fell out laughing. Like proper cracked up laughing. Now, admittedly, the thing that sort of covered for us was the fact that it was like a funny section, so people were laughing and stuff, but we were howling. And it's something that's come up a few times since. And I was like, the worst part of that, not the worst part, but the funniest bit was, I worked out before we went to the cinema. And we went on Wednesday, which is arm day. And I'm like, it was arm day. So she just kept calling me Marmalade through the rest of the week. Honest, I haven't laughed like that in a while. So the question, was it good? As I said to my eldest, I always think the first line of your review is your review. This is what I've been saying for a while now, because I think you can boil down a movie review to the thing you say, the first words out of your mouth. That's what you can boil it down to, and it's basically, what is it you think in a sentence? So here is my one-line review. What I said was, there are very few films out there that you can say the sequel is as good or possibly even better than the first one. Very few films. But I was like, honestly, I would say that was at least as good, if not possibly better than the original. They'd added a couple of different effects to the animation. They'd gone a couple of places. They'd gone full-blown cartoon-ish effects. And initially I was like, ooh, we've got to change here, people. They've made a change and I don't know. And then after a couple of times of them using it, I was like, nah, that fucking works, bro. Yep. Great film. Really good. Absolute banger. Very much one of those where you're like, in places it kept you sort of almost on the edge of your seat in some ways. I appreciate children's film, but you know, I enjoy a good children's film. Something I was saying was like something that DreamWorks seem to be really hitting out of the park these days is they've had some of the best movie bad guys in any, like I was saying, like Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. They basically had like this giant wolf that was supposed to represent death, and he was like a genuine bad guy. He was terrifying. Like 2 of the kids cried. In this, they had a bad guy, which wasn't one of the main one of the actual bad guy characters, because they're the good guys now, obviously. They had a bad guy who was a genuine bad guy, like a bad guy. And I was saying to like the kids, I was like, the thing that makes a bad guy is when they have the opportunity to do the right thing. They have the opportunity to do the good thing, and they choose to do the bad thing. They choose to do the wrong thing. The irony on that was not lost on me. I do feel it was maybe lost on them. Fantastic film. If you've got kids, go and see it. If you like animated stuff, go and see it. If you enjoyed the first one, go and see it. Rent it at home. Do whatever it is that you do for movies these days. But I thoroughly recommend it. I feel like I'm doing sort of a catalogue of all the films that my daughter has seen that I've sort of been like, you should watch this. So my eldest watched Scott Pilgrim vs. the World the other day. Another one of those films that I have for many years thoroughly enjoyed. I think it's very well done. I think it's very well made. I think it's got some very interesting sort of like melding that computer game, anime, cartoony. Obviously, it's based on a graphic novel, so there's all of those things melded together into almost a real world. A lot of the characters are quite likable. A lot of the characters are very dislikable, which makes them likable in a weird way. Just for me, a top-notch movie. I recommended it to my eldest. She was like, yeah, that sounds right. I was like, do you want to watch a trailer? She was like, sure. Put a trailer on for her. She watched the trailer and she was like, yes, please. Put it on. And we both sat and thoroughly enjoyed that. So that's another one ticked off the list. Computer games wise, a few things about computer games at the moment. I've had a real shift in computer games. Haven't played VR in a while. If I'm honest, it's kind of nice to have a break from a genre or a media or a platform or a format, however you want to look at it. Because as I'm sure anybody who's listened to this more than once will know, it was a big part of things for a very long time. I think things have sort of naturally moved in a certain direction because a lot of stuff I'm playing is either Steam Deck related, console related, or a mixture of both. A couple of games I'm playing on both the Steam Deck and the console. So there's a real mix going on there. Also, as I think I may have mentioned previously, the Into the Radius 2 developers are taking a break at the moment. So I was like, I don't feel like I'm missing out. There's no FOMO from that side of things. So it's perfect. So, Elden Ring, the first main boss has gone down. Margit? Yeah, I think that's it. Margit the Fellowman. Done in both versions of my game, in the PlayStation version and the Steam Deck version. I have taken Margit down on both versions of my game. Yeah, I don't know how else to slice it really. I am massively overpowered at this point in time. One of my characters is in the like 45 sort of level region, and my other character's in the well into the 60s. Through massive amounts of cheating early game. So, you know, take down a boss. Or 6 at this point in time. I've taken down A load of dungeon bosses, a load of mini bosses, a load of like roaming around in the world bosses. I've done 3 night bosses at this point in time. I've attempted 3 arena nights, taken down 2. One of them has eluded me. However, it's not just me. The video guide I've been following, the guy who was doing the guide could not do him on several attempts, so I don't feel too bad about that. Although my character is 40 levels higher than his. That's not important, though, is it? One thing I will say is the most difficult element of Elden Ring for me so far is these fucking imps. You go into like a cave or a dungeon or whatever that game refers to those areas as, and there are these imps, and they're so annoying. They have been the single hardest enemy to deal with in the entire game, and they are driving me up the wall. There was a point where I was playing Assassin's Creed and being like, but it's not Elden Ring. And then I realised it isn't Elden Ring, and that can be a good thing. It's very much a palate cleanser. So basically, when I play Elden Ring, I pay for a full video. If I can get through a full video in a playthrough, I'm kind of happy with that. And then, if I've got time, I'm like, well, little palate cleanser, bit of Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's fine. Unfortunately, through playing a game like Elden Ring, which is honestly so well crafted, you're like, why aren't all games like this? When you play a game that isn't like it, you're like, well, this is bad in some ways. There is a lot wrong with Assassin's Creed Shadows, and a lot about it is to do with, all I can say is time wasting. It's a game that is more than happy, like, it's obsessed with wasting your motherfucking time, to quote Gary Oldman. Happy to waste your time. Also, it's a game that just keeps giving you more and more and more, to the point where you go, I'm never going to finish all the stuff in this game. I'm never going to get all of the stuff. I'm never going to unlock everything. I'm never going to do all the parts of this game. So what's the point? I did 100% for Ghost of Tsushima. 100% on that game. Because it was doable. All of it was doable. Rise of the Ronin, I did not 100% it because it was very much one of those that there was just so much. And you would have to do multiple playthroughs because your decisions actually make a difference. Assassin's Creed Shadows tells you that, but doesn't then show you what difference you've made. So it's just a bit odd. But I did learn it's a good palate cleanser. Something else that is a good palate cleanser, me and my eldest have been playing DC Universe Online, and I managed to recover my old game by basically installing it to the PlayStation. It auto-recovered my old version, but my old version had all of my old characters, who were all at the highest level they could be at the time I last played. Now, those levels are wildly out of date. So I've been like, when I've had like a spare few minutes here and there, I've been basically going and trying to re-level up these characters, but it takes so long because there's so much stuff that needs doing. I get to a point where I'm like, I'm exhausted, so I'm going to have to turn it off. So yeah, plenty of game stuff going on. No VR. But at the moment, I'm kind of okay with that. So, yeah, there's been a couple of days recently where I'm like, oh, I might pop the VR on. And then it's like, oh, but it's going to eat into my Elden Ring time, so I don't know if I can. And then I basically don't. But, you know, it's going to be hot as balls this week. But it looks like it's sort of going to die down next week. So maybe next week there'll be a better opportunity for VR-related things. Right, that is that. I will catch you next time. So there you go, what do you think of that? Another one done, another one gone. Big thank you for watching, big thank you for listening, big thank you for being here. Before you leave us, if you are new here, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. If you are not new here, but you haven't done it yet, also like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review, and check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. Right then, that's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to this awesome Cookie Cast.